Points off the bench in USA Basketball's exhibition win over Spain. Reeves and the U.S. team are tuning up for the FIBA World Cup, which starts August 26 in Manila. A touching moment over the weekend during the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame ceremony in Springfield, Massachusetts. When former Lakers star Paul Gasol was making his acceptance speech, he fought back tears to say this line: "I wouldn't be here without you, brother." The reference was to Kobe Bryant. Gasol and Kobe played 7 seasons together with the Lakers and won 2 NBA championships. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. As black folk, we know how to face tragedy and not fall into despair. And yet sometimes the points of pain are felt so acutely, especially when we know full well that we're being treated unfairly by our so-called justice system that at times appears to be anything but just. After more than 30 years of public service, Mark Willie Thomas is set to be sentenced on Monday, August 21st, for his conviction on bribery and conspiracy in a federal corruption trial. As you well know, Willie Thomas was found not guilty on 12 of the 19 counts the feds brought against him. This is not your typical corruption case. No lavish trips, no victim, no cash in a brown bag or stashed away in a freezer, no illegal contributions from a wealthy donor, no money received by the accused, no use of taxpayer dollars. There is therefore no need to incarcerate Willie Thomas to protect the community. Indeed, the probation department has recommended a mere 18-month sentence. But the feds, they want MRT to serve 6 years. 6 years. How is that fair? This happens far too often to defendants who just happen to look a lot like you and me. First, they target you. Then they overcharge you. Then they fight to keep certain folks off the jury. Then they spend millions of your tax dollars prosecuting a victimless $100,000 criminal allegation. Then, typically, they win, and why shouldn't they? In reality, no case of the United States government against you is really a fair trial, if you feel me. Then, after they win, they ask for a sentence of more than 3 times what the probation department is recommending. Again, I ask, how is that fair? I read the federal government's summary document regarding the sentencing of MRT, and the charged language they use is both revealing and despicable. You can clearly see their disdain for the constituent community, for the black clergy who have stood with MRT, and mostly for MRT, daring to exercise his constitutional right to even go to trial to defend himself. The feds demanding a 6-year sentence in this case is their way of punishing an uppity Negro who dared to fight back. Let's hope that the judge in this case sees through this racist masquerade and delivers a sentence of time commensurate with the crime, even as MRT appeals this verdict. There are no good times to be black in America, and sometimes are worse than others. For KBLA Talk 1580, I'm Tavis Smiley. We welcome your comments.
First things first.
First things first, it's the DU General, Money P. I'ma put you up on the schedule. 6 to 9, 8 weekdays, not doing Syracuse. We got a lot to talk about, so much to carry through. Unapologetic, cool, progressive. Tune to KBLA 1580 to get the mess. With your ancestors' favorite radio station. First black on talk radio on the side of the nation. Me and Dominic the Beamer go way back. Started making sure the station stays black. Discussing all the issues in our community. The hopes of black and brown and others find unity. So let's talk about how baby began to move. Digital underground, always down with the movement. So we tune in. The first things first with Sabrina. Black Talk Radio, Dominique the Prima. Go sis.
KBLA Talk 1580. Good morning and God bless. I'm Dominique DePrima. This show is called First Things First, and my first thing every single day, giving thanks, giving praises, asking for blessings from the Most High, from God Almighty, asking for the blessings of the ancestors, the elders, and then stirring the pot. That's my job. Let's go. Let's do this. Let's talk about it. Whatever your it is, the place to throw down is 800-920-1580, 800-920-1580. Happy Monday. How long do we celebrate hip-hop's 50th birthday, Miles? Is it a day, a week, a whole year, another 50 years? How long do we...
Forever. Hip-hop forever.
Yeah, I like that answer. I was blessed. I got to go to the Bay Area for the Bay Area Hip-Hop Archives induction, and they inducted me. It was wild because a lot of people didn't know what happened to me. It was weird. It was like people thought I'd stepped out of a time machine, and I hope they find us now at KBLA 1580. I mean, of course, my friends and, the people that I have kept in touch with, which is not so many, because when I came down here to L.A., I was swimming as fast as I could just to stay afloat. But it was great to see people, so many people. Sugar T, who's like the OG of the OGs on the female side of life, and Oaktown 357. A lot of people were there. Of course, Digital Underground. Well, I'll talk to you more about that next hour. It was pretty fun, pretty exciting. And then, of course, there were celebrations going on all over the country, and I think they're still going on. So that's why I don't know. I guess you celebrate as long as you want to. I like Miles' take. Celebrate forever. You know what we do around here, hour one? We look to the left coast. California, your city, your town, your street. Hour two, we go national, international, and beyond. And in the third hour, we do a deep dive with a person of interest or a hot topic. Today, in the spirit of 50 years of hip-hop culture, I will be talking to Father Amdi of the Watts Poets. Watts Prophets, excuse me. I'm thinking Last Poets and Watts Prophets at the same time. The Watts Prophets, who many credit with the precursor to rap, or maybe even the creation of rap. Certainly, we'll hear about that from Brother Amdi's perspective. And there's a lot of history, a lot of activism, as well as artistry to unpack there. So that's an honor. That's an honor. And we got maybe some surprise guests. I'm not going to say anything because you never know. And, of course, Mindful Mondays with Sahar Ali. All that's on deck. But hour one, we always try to have a partner in politics to add some depth and perspective to the conversation. And today is no exception to that. It's an organization that's doing a lot of things that intersect and overlap with many of the conversations we have every day on this radio station, on my show, and many more. We have, let's see, I don't know if they're both on the line yet, but the organization is ASAP, Anti-Violence, Safety, and Accountability Project. Jamilia Land is a mother activist and a criminal and restorative justice public speaker. We'll be hearing from her in just a little bit. And her partner is dedicated to creating collaborative spaces across an intersection of networks, fostering relationships, and a vision to help people working towards equitable, social, and transformational justice until freedom dreams are reality. What does that mean? We'll dig a little deeper. JoHanna J. Thompson, good morning.
Good morning. How are you today?
Oh, well, I'm in motion. How you doing?
I'm in motion as well. It's 6 o'clock in the morning.
Got to stay in motion. Yeah. You act like that's early. My old show, I used to do 4:30 to 6 every day, but so it doesn't feel so early, but I get it. You probably have a long day ahead, no doubt.
We do. Exciting day, though.
So your title is Community Peace Building Lead, the Peace Alliance, Bring the Peace Movement. That's a lot of peace. Are you talking, and I consider myself a peacenik, but there's levels to it, right? You're talking about world peace, neighborhood peace, and all the levels in between. Talk to me about how that, what that means in the context of the Peace Alliance.
Oh, I'd love to do that. So the Peace Alliance is a national organization that also has global ties across the world, of course, and their work is to advocate, educate, and mobilize people towards peace building. There is a bill that is sponsored by Congresswoman Barbara Lee to be Senator of California, and it's H.R. 1111. It's a bill that has existed for over 20 years, and it's a Department of Peace Building bill. And that bill really is looking for a federal-level department where instead of working on anti-violence legislation, we're thinking about all of the legislation that we can push forward that really is focused on peace building.
Right. I know that she and others have talked about a Department of Peace as opposed to a Department of War, and how we can build a foundation that emphasizes what we want, not what we don't want, right?
Exactly.
We are and it's weird because everything has to be contextualized. We're in a time right now where we're getting a lot of reporting on crime, and we're having a lot of spectacular crime. But here in L.A., and I know in Oakland, I'm not sure about the wider Bay Area, but I am familiar with Oakland, there's been a lot of violence, like community violence, right? Of course, that's on the Think Globally, Act Locally tip. And I know, and the reason I say contextually is because if you look at, say, the crack, cocaine, 80s and 90s, violence is way down right now. But if you look at it compared to how it was before 2020, we're seeing the return of some problematic community violence. I guess the question is, how do you address that? You want to focus on what you want, but you also can't ignore the objective conditions.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have a history of violence in communities, and that happens when people don't have access to the resources that they need. And a big part of the work that we're doing, as much violence and crime as there's happening in community, there's also a number of community partners that are working towards solutions to reduce the crime, to make sure that people have access to food and health care and housing and some financial economic stability. And so that's really what we want to be focusing on, the organizations that are there, making sure that those organizations have the funding that they need so that people and communities can have resources, which is a component of helping to reduce the cycle of violence that occurs when people don't have access to what they need.
Yeah, we got to talk more about that when we come forward. There's so much to really dig into there, because the talking points that start to fly around when community violence picks up tend to support legislation, policies, and attitudes that do not serve us, even though, and by us I mean Black people, by us I mean BIPOC people, by us I mean low-income folks and communities of color, that we sometimes get caught up in those talking points in a reactionary way. One example of that might be the Oakland NAACP. For example, we'll unpack that a little bit when we come forward. KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward.
Moments like my daughter telling me a new joke mean a lot to me. But after being diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer, or MBC, which is breast cancer that is spread to other parts of the body, they mean even more. I take Ibrance, Palbociclib.
Ibrance 125 milligram tablets with an aromatase inhibitor is for adults with HR-positive, HER2-negative MBC as the first hormonal-based therapy. Ask your doctor about Ibrance and visit Ibrance.com. Ibrance may cause low white blood cell counts that may lead to serious infections. Ibrance may cause severe inflammation of the lungs. Both of these can lead to death. Tell your doctor right away if you have new or worsening symptoms, including trouble breathing, shortness of breath, cough, or chest pain. Before taking Ibrance, tell your doctor if you have fever, chills, or other signs of infection, liver or kidney problems, are or plan to become pregnant, or are breastfeeding. Common side effects include low red blood cell and low platelet counts, infections, tiredness, nausea, sore mouth, abnormalities in liver blood tests, diarrhea, hair thinning or loss, vomiting, rash, and loss of appetite.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the voice of reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the voice of reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Are you looking to steer your career in a new direction? Driving for the Culver City Bus can be your ticket to a long-lasting career with excellent benefits and paid training. Culver City Bus is looking for customer service and safety-minded bus operators to join the growing team. Culver City Bus offers on-the-job paid training, uniform allowance, and health benefits. Culver City Bus are now even putting their money in your pocket with a one-time $2,500 sign-on bonus. Let us connect you with an essential service job. If you enjoy driving, seek real opportunities for career advancement, and passionate about making a difference in your community, then we invite you to join the team. Start your journey by submitting an application at culvercity.org/job. For more information, visit culvercitybus.com or call the live customer service operator at 310-253-6500. Again, 350-253-6500.
Your ancestors' favorite radio station, and your favorite morning show host. Let's get back to Dominique DePrima right now.
Today's episode of First Things First with Dominique DePrima brought to you by Wealth Management Financial Advisors. They can help you with your taxes, get you on track for refinancing your mortgage, or help you build generational wealth. You can give them a call at 562-427-8877. That's 562-427-8877. Wealth Management Financial Advisors. Wow. I'm really excited to meet you, JoHanna, and, learn more about the work that you're doing. Seems really, really timely. We're also being joined now by your partner in the work, Jamilia, a mother activist, criminal and restorative justice advocate, public speaker, and co-founder of the Anti-Violence Safety and Accountability Project. Welcome, Jamilia.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Yep. Thanks for calling in. So we're talking about this, balance, right? You want to focus on what you want, not what you don't want. We want to build peace and institutions that foster peace. And yet we have to deal with what's going on in our communities. The Oakland NAACP recently put out a letter asking for the city to declare a state of emergency. And I was very dismayed to hear that their solution to said state of emergency was more cops.
So are you talking about the state of emergency regarding the disappearance of black girls and women?
No, I'm talking about community violence.
Ah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I guess if you're not familiar with the letter, you can tee up what you think are those solutions. Because for me, we're having some similar issues here in Los Angeles, where you see, even though historically against the timeline of history, violence remains low. You see some flare-ups in the community, and for many lawmakers and some community groups, in your case the NAACP, the knee-jerk reaction is more money for cops. Police say, well, this is because you defunded the police, which actually never really happened. And so I feel like it can create talking points and policies that are not necessarily in the best interest of people in the community.
I 100% agree. Yeah.
Jamilia, you want to start with that, or you want to hand that off to JoHanna?
So I don't want to cut you off, JoHanna. Please go ahead, and then I will follow up behind you.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. Just speaking into the defund the police campaign, that we saw that there was actually an increase in appropriations to policing and funding, and also police laws, and less accountability for the police law enforcement agencies across the nation. And what we propose is that there should be more funding that is actually appropriated to social services and to making sure that people, again, as I said earlier, access to all of the needs that they have. And specifically for people that are experiencing an increased rate of mental health, because that's the kind of violence that we're seeing in community. The narrative speaks to violence with gun violence and domestic violence, and there's a tremendous amount of violence that actually is occurring to people with mental health concerns that are treated and over-criminalized. And so if we start to break down what we're talking about in regards to violence that's happening in communities, then we'll see that the immediate answer is not more law enforcement and policing agencies getting to have more autonomy over our communities, but to really be looking to funding and resourcing community programs and organizations that have a pulse on what's going on in the community, that have better relationships with the people that are in community, and can provide the services that we need to be able to reduce what is, poor people problems that is being over-criminalized.
Yeah, Jamilia.
Yeah, well, to kind of piggyback off Jay, and the very last thing she said is what really captures me, is the quote-unquote poor people in this country. We cannot forget that we live in a country where the Constitution states that people who look like you and I were considered 3/5 of a human being for purposes of representation in the socially constructed entity that we have come to know as the United States of America. But when we talk about violence in this country, when we talk about public safety, when we talk about the necessity to focus on those in our communities who are being impacted the most, we oftentimes leave out ethnicity and or race and how much it plays a factor. When we are talking about, for example, gun violence in our community, Black people are the only people that I know that when we talk about these things, it's considered our ethnicity. We hear the term black on black crime, right?
I don't use that
term. You ever heard of white on white?
No, I don't use
Asian
black on black
Asian?
crime because it's a ridiculous racist term, but yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. We don't hear Hispanic on Hispanic or Russian on Russian crime, right? Well, there's a reason for that, because we know that our country, people have been psychologically indoctrinated with one of the worst mental health diseases known to mankind, and that's called racism. So when Jay talks about the mental health component of things, I always like to broaden the conversation to say, well, look at the country that we live in. Violence in this country is as American as apple pie and baseball. But when there's a certain demographic of people that society and the media have demonized, devalued, and dehumanized, and normalized for everyone to see as the problem, now you have laws that are being created very specifically for a certain demographic of people, right? You have conversations around what public safety looks like. That's where we now need more money for law enforcement. But is the public any safer with more law enforcement, with more money being spent on law enforcement? Not if you ask the people in my community. We don't feel any safer with law enforcement having more guns, more money. At the same time, there is always the necessity for services in our communities. And because there is a lack of funding, because there is a lack of consideration and care for the demographic of people in the communities that require the service, our last resort oftentimes is call 911. Who do I call if I'm being assaulted in my home? Who do I call if someone harms one of my children? I can't call Mr. Jackson. I can't call Mr. Jennings. But I also don't feel as though I can call 911. So now I am sitting dealing with these issues where I am being subjected to whatever may be going on in my community or in my home, and there is nowhere to go. There's no help. And that really takes a toll on people psychologically. And so, when we talk about breaking the violence and bringing the peace, it is more than just the physical violence. There is the psychological violence that is exercised against us every single day. Every day that we turn on the TV or we see social media or hear on the news about another unarmed or even armed Black person being killed at the hands of law enforcement, to those in our communities who have already lost someone, there's no such thing as healing, because that wound never gets closed. Because the thing that allowed the wound to occur in the first place never gets addressed and dealt with. Instead, we talk politics, we talk in circles. There's, the necessity for more funding. There's the necessity for more legislation. But who's actually stopping and taking a look at the people themselves? Who's stopping and taking a look at what has happened to us systemically in this country that was very intentional, that got us to the place that we're at?
Right. So so of course that's the stuff we talk about all day, every day around here. We're unapologetically progressive. The station is owned by Tavis Smiley. So you're somewhat preaching to the choir on that. And I guess I was trying to, drill down into some specifics about how you guys address it. Got a minute and a half here till news, traffic, and sports. And I know you guys have a great event today, but and it's a huge topic to cover, right? When you talk about community violence in the context of a nation built on violence. So I understand that. We're just about a minute here. Do you want to just share a little bit about your organization? And then when we come forward after news, traffic, and sports, we can talk about the event and how we can help you do the things you're doing.
Yes, thank you. So I am co-founder of the Anti-Violence Safety and Accountability Project, which I founded a few years ago. And a lot of the work that we do is based around providing services for families and children who have been impacted by police violence as well as community violence. We also do a lot of work inside of the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation around restorative justice and healing.
20 seconds here. Well, you know what? I'm not going to do that to you. You'd have to be a radio expert to get a point in 20 seconds. But, we do have a lot to talk about, and you're welcome in the conversation. 800-920-1580. JoHanna J, a.k.a. J, Thompson and Jamilia Land, are joining us this morning, and they're all about the peace. And there's a hip-hop angle, too. 50 years of hip-hop. That's next on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominic DePrima when we come forward.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us. I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. The deadliest wildfire in modern U.S. history has claimed at least 96 lives. Maui Police Chief John Pelletier spoke at a press conference last night and said search crews are using dogs to look for additional remains. At the time, he said only 3% of the destroyed area had been covered. Elected officials, friends, and family come together to bid farewell to the late New Jersey Lieutenant Governor, African-American Sheila Oliver. Governor Murphy was among the speakers at her funeral Saturday. Hundreds of people were at the funeral, which was held at the Cathedral Basilica of the Sacred Heart in her hometown of Newark. In addition to Murphy, Reverend Al Sharpton and her friend, singer, and New Jersey native Dionne Warwick were among those who eulogized her. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Need an accident attorney by your side? All you got to do is call the accident guy.
Injured in a car accident or at work? Call the accident guys to speak with a real expert attorney for a free consultation.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers are the hottest team in Major League Baseball. They pushed their winning streak to 8 in a row after sweeping Colorado. The Dodgers are 25 games over 500 and lead the Giants by 8.5 games in the NL West. Lakers guard Austin Reeves scored 11 points off the bench in USA Basketball's exhibition win over Spain. Reeves and the U.S. team are tuning up for the FIBA World Cup, which starts August 26 in Manila. A touching moment over the weekend during the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame ceremony in Springfield, Massachusetts. When former Lakers star Paul Gasol was making his acceptance speech, he fought back tears to say this line: "I wouldn't be here without you, brother." The reference was to Kobe Bryant. Gasol and Kobe played 7 seasons together with the Lakers and won 2 NBA championships. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Have you heard about Lendistry? Lendistry is a national black-led small business lender that is headquartered right here in LA. Once you've started your business, Lendistry provides flexible financing options starting at $50,000 to help you access the affordable capital needed to grow. Whether financing is needed to increase working capital, acquire a business, purchase inventory and equipment, or refinance debt, Lendistry has a solution for you. Lending products range from traditional business term loans and non-revolving lines of credit to SBA 7A loans and commercial real estate financing. Lendistry's free application process is simple and does not impact your credit score. Visit lendistry.com/KBLA to learn more and to get started with an application right from the website.
The Los Angeles Urban League helps African American and others in underserved communities achieve true social parity, economic self-reliance, and civil rights. For over 100 years, Los Angeles Urban League has ensured our communities have access to careers with living wages, opportunities to start and grow businesses, and clear pathways to personal and professional growth. Programs like BizCamp, Construction Career Academy, Spa Business Ready, and B-Warp. The Black Wealth Attainment and Retention Program are examples of the ongoing events designed to make our centennial mission to rebuild Black Wall Street right here in LA a reality. To sign up for our newsletter or to support the Los Angeles Urban League with your time, talents, and donations, visit laul.org. That's laul.org. The Los Angeles Urban League is a proud sponsor of Urban Family Focus, Saturdays at 7 a.m. on KBLA Talk 1580.
Dominique DePrima for KBLA Talk 1580. Are you worried about your credit score? Well, look, you can rebuild it. There are lots of factors that go into determining your credit score, but one of the most effective ways to improve your score is to consistently pay your bills on time, over time. If you're forgetful about payments, like me, try automating your bill payments. That way all your creditors get paid on time, and you'll have freed yourself of trying to remember. Whatever your financial goals, U.S. Bank Access Commitment Initiatives can help support you in reaching them. Access your financial goals at usbank.com/access. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Are you interested in catching up on all the latest entertainment news, trending topics, and exciting interviews? I got you. Tune in to The Rob Report with Robin Ayers, Monday through Friday, 6 to 7 p.m. I'm your host, Robin Ayers. Join me every weekday with some of the best entertainment contributors in the business as we break down what's going on, who's got next, and what not to miss. Only on The Rob Report with Robin Ayers.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. Thanks for waking up with Dominique DePrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
I do appreciate you, and we got some new friends in the conversation. JoHanna J. Thompson, she's a community peace building specialist for the Peace Alliance, and Jamilia, co-founder of Anti-Violence Safety and Accountability Project. They are partners in peace, and joining us this morning to give an outlook on what they are up to. Let's focus in on your big event today, because it feels like one place where folks can start in terms of learning about the work that you do, but also supporting the work that you're doing. JoHanna, you want to start?
Thank you. Yeah, it is JoHanna, like Johannesburg, Africa. My mom named me like that. Today we're having the 50th anniversary of West Coast Hip Hop Celebration with the California Legislative Black Caucus and the Recording Industry Artists of America, where we're going to be recognizing the contributions of West Coast hip hop artists to hip hop in its totality. Last week on Friday, we know that it was the actual anniversary date, and we thought that it would be important to make sure that we recognize how West Coast were amazing storytellers about some of the trauma and impact that communities were having, specifically speaking about law enforcement. Thinking about Ice Cube's song, Today Was a Good Day, and how in the majority of the song he's talking about being able to drive his car down the street and not be harassed by the police. And that's a critical component of what we're talking about when we're talking about bringing the peace. We want to make sure that that people and communities feel like they can move around safely, and traditionally, as Jamilia was talking about, our law enforcement does not allow that to happen in traditionally marginalized communities of any sort in the history of the United States.
I mean, never mind F the Police by NWA, but yeah, I think there's a tradition. But so today, you're recognizing West Coast hip hop history, but also this is a peace rally, Jamilia, right?
Yes.
So how talk to me about how those come together.
Well, so we have a very interesting group of people that are going to be coming out today, and to kind of to briefly piggyback on the police accountability portion of it, we actually have a few interesting guests. One of them is the former chief of police here in Sacramento, first and only African-American chief of police by the name of Daniel Hahn. Daniel will be in attendance. And then we also have a young man who, Dynell James, who 3 years ago, this upcoming November, him and three of his brothers went to Arden Fair Mall, where his two brothers were shot in the head and killed by another 17-year-old kid. And Dynell and his 13-year-old brother survived. Dynell will be there as their father got up and did something that we have never seen before. After the young man was arrested, he got on the news and told the world that he was not mad at this kid, that he had compassion for the young man and for the young man's family, and that he wished that he had made a different decision, but that he understood that he was still a kid, and that both families in the community lost something that day. And it was just mind-blowing, right? Because that's not something that we see, especially in the African-American community, when we have violence of that nature. And to see this father who has 6 sons get up and make such a declaration, whereas, you know, the music and the movies and the culture will tell you that's not what we do, right? We're going to go slide on them. We're going to go get our revenge in the streets. And so the maturity level that took was just unfathomable to me. And then we also have Jacob Blake Sr., the father of Jacob Blake Jr., who was shot in Kenosha by the Kenosha Police Department. We also have Bianca Austin, who is the aunt of Breonna Taylor. We have Layla Steinberg, who is the former manager of Tupac. We have Michael Lott. And so we have a host of people from various demographics that are all coming together under one guise. And that is not only to celebrate the contributions of West Coast hip-hop, but very specifically to look at how hip-hop itself has helped to contribute to the overall culture, and not just the history of it, but the future of it. So we have several young, upcoming artists that are going to be out and are going to be performing. I'd like to give a shout out to Magical Rock Band and the Young Moguls, young artists by the name of La Russell, who have taken the history and they are now recreating what music is supposed to look like for the upcoming generation. They are talking about positivity. You can hear, we're headed for self-destruction, and the kids saying, we see the destruction, but we are headed in the direction of entrepreneurialism and healing our communities and, covering your body up and having some modesty. And so we're really excited about the people who are coming out and participating today, but about the conversations that are going to be opened up.
Well, we could do a whole show on any one of those things you just said. I don't know that, for me, covering your body up and having modesty is not a priority for saving young people in our community. But maybe I'm just old-fashioned in that, I just feel like, a lot of times we focus on things that may or may not be priorities.
Right, and I don't disagree with you. Very specifically in regards to that, when we are looking at, and I joke oftentimes, right, I say we were raised by OGs. The new generation is being raised by IGs. And so when we see the over-sexualization of young Black girls, right, and that is not something that started in our community.
Or in hip-hop,
this is something,
to be clear.
Or in hip-hop.
To be 100%
right?
clear, yeah.
Yes, this is something that started, and not even at the hands of us as melanated people.
Right. It's part of what we call marketing and in capitalist America, and I get that. I just
exactly,
but even in hip hop, people are like, oh, today, we always, Lil Kim kind of goes back, but anyway, that's another convo for another day. It was on your list, and I'm just like, okay. And I appreciate your putting it in the context of our entire entertainment, giant machine.
Right, because a part of that is that, when we talk about the harm that is created from that, it's a matter of planting a seed in the mindset, right? Because now we have two ties to hip-hop and peace. We now have the B, the hoe, the pimp, the NIWGA, all of these terms that have come about that we use to reference one another, very specifically in the culture. And a lot of it is tied to the devaluing of one another.
Right.
The devaluing of
but
human bodies.
You say now, but that ain't new. That goes back to, that's before any of us were born.
I don't disagree with that, but in the context of hip-hop, and we talked about it being a peace movement, we started off with lyrics like heading for self-destruction, right?
That was one strand. But we always had party rappers and drug dealer rappers. I don't know. I've been, actually around hip-hop for a really long time. But anyway, I don't want to get into that debate because I don't want to take the focus off the great work that you guys are doing and the fact that you are finding a way to bring the industry into this. I want to talk to you about that when we come forward, because what you're talking about is really, whether it's violence, over-sexualization of our children, which we know is a thing in general, the adultification of our kids outside and inside of hip-hop. We talk about the role or the responsibility of the record industry, and the record, some piece of the record industry is part of what y'all are doing, so I want to hear about that when we come forward. KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is an intervention. When we come forward, includes you. KBLA Talk 1580, turning pain into power. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Maisha Cairo here for KBLA Talk 1580. We're live in Los Angeles at JP Morgan Chase's Advancing Black Wealth Tour. And I'm speaking to some of the attendees today to see why it was so important for them to be here.
Yeah, this is Lathan and Tyler. Main reason that's very important for me to be here is just to leave a legacy for my kids. Black wealth, generational wealth is what we need in our community, Oh, Chase, someone has to take the lead. They're showing, big business like Chase cares, and they're putting their money where their mouth is at. So it's good to see, big institution like Chase, giving a lifting hand, to the community, and you got to respect that. It makes me want to bake with Chase, and give them, another look if I go to another institution. I actually see what Chase is doing for the community.
That's right. Chase is doing their part to help advance Blackwell. For more money support, tune in every day from 12 to 2 to KBLA Talk 1580's Midday Money Chain, right here.
For all of us, this generation and the next, there is simply no place in our lives for litter. And yet, it's everywhere we look. And unfortunately, it does belong to all of us. So, let's come together and create a litter-free, clean California, once and for all. Remember to properly dispose of your trash and recycling. Secure truckloads with tarps to keep debris from flying out. Clean out your car when you're at a gas station. Take pride in your community by organizing a cleanup event. Or join a cleanup event near you. Zero litter is the goal. Join us at cleanca.com. That's cleanca.com. Let's do it. Together. Brought to you by Caltrans. cleanca.com.
On a Mission Youth Travel presents the 2023 Morehouse Homecoming HBCU College Tour, October 25th through October 29th in Atlanta, Georgia. Open to high school students grades 9 through 12. For more information, please call 323-298-4779. Again, 323-298-4779. Students will tour Morehouse College, Spelman College, Clark Atlanta University, Alabama State, and Tuskegee University. Email info@onamissionyouthtravel.com. Again, info@onamissionyouthtravel.com. The HBCU tour price includes all meals, transportation, round-trip airfare with one checked bag, hotel accommodation, all museums, college tours, and admission to the Morehouse versus Kentucky State University homecoming football game. Spaces are filling up quickly, so call today to sign up. 323-298-4779. Again, 323-298-4779.
We're not for everybody, but we're for everybody. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
And we appreciate you being here with us. Right now we're talking with Jamilia Land, the founder of the Anti-Violence, Safety, and Accountability Project and lead for California Bring the Peace movement. Also talking with JoHanna J. Thompson, who is also a partner in this project, and she is what's your title here? You guys got long titles. Community Peace Building Lead with the Peace Alliance, Bring the Peace Movement. Yeah, you guys got a lot of titles. But it all comes down to what we're actually doing, right? And today you have the big Peace March and commemoration of 50 years of hip-hop, specifically focused on West Coast in Sacramento. And the business side of hip-hop, which, for those of us who have been in this for a second, sometimes we think they're the ones that ruin the whole movement. The Recording Industry Association of America is part of your event. JoHanna, talk to me about how they're involved and what this means in terms of accountability or bringing peace.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. The Recording Industry Artists of America has joined in partnership with the California Legislative Black Caucus, and they are supporting the certificates of recognition that are going to be presented to some key folks on the the Assembly and Senate floor of the state capitol. And that is really recognizing, again, the contributions, really focusing on the origins of hip hop. We're focusing on how people have committed to storytelling about our communities, because we were able to amplify some of the concerns that were happening in the community through, Tupac's lyrics, through Ice Cube's lyrics. We've mentioned NWA's lyrics, and that really brought to light that community was aware of the oppression and marginalization that was continuing, and we were able to share those experiences through hip-hop. And so thinking about hip-hop in that respect, and then thinking about kind of the wedges that have occurred in the industry with kind of rap lyrics that speak into the experiences of young people today and the ways that they're thinking about it, and the desire initially to be doing the storytelling. You see this through line over the last 50 years. And there's a narrative that we have in America, like you said, was preaching to the choir. And we also have to remember that that narrative is different than the community that's actually producing the songs to talk about the realities that are happening and impacting their lives. So the recording industry Artists of America have joined today in support of us and helping allow the amplification of the peace-building components of the work that is happening really specifically in Sacramento locally with organizations like Edutainment Pros, who are working with young people and community, helping them to develop their skills in the industry and develop music that has different narratives. And you spoke to this earlier. There's an entire wealth of within the genre of the content that the different artists and performers speak to. And we're happy to be able to uplift the young people that are coming with storytelling and different narratives than the traditional narratives that we're hearing right now with them. Before we got on this call, I was scrolling my IG algorithm, and there was a gentleman who was on talking about, I was in the club, and it just impacted me that I was listening to a whole bunch of songs that were like DEFCON songs, Kill 'Em Up and everything like that. And he's like, the psychological impacts of those things are important for us to consider as we're thinking about the lyrics, but also thinking about the reality of, we are violence-impacted people. We continue to experience that, not just in marginalized communities, but in a diversity of communities across our nation. And it's important for us to become conscious of that and not to just allow it to be reverberating in our minds so that we can think about what are the things that we need.
I mean, I think to your earlier point, too, like if you had those lyrics, those videos, those conversations hit a lot different when you have food in your stomach, the light bill, the lights are on, securely, and your rent is paid. I've been in Bel Air in a aerobic studio where a bunch of white girls with a bunch of money were listening to the same songs and it had almost no effect on them. It just made them shake their butts a little harder. So I think that's where we started, which is not just about suppression or censorship or putting on clothes. It's about what are the conditions that and the trauma, as you mentioned right now, that allow us to be a tinderbox so that a song or a series of songs or videos can ignite our community. And I think, if we lose that context, then we really lose, to me, a common sense thread in the conversation. Everybody receives things based on their lens and based on the conditions that they're forced to live in. I want to find out how folks can support the work that you're doing, or if they're in the Sacramento area, how they can be down. It sounds like quite an amazing collection, and we spoke with Jacob Blake for Black Lives Matter Turns 10, and he's an incredible speaker. Sounds like you've got quite a gathering of folks today in Sacramento. Find out about how you can be down next on KBLA Talk 1580.
A safe place to go loud. A great place for progressive politics. KBLA Talk 1580.
Attention taxpayers. Ready for some bad news? With $80 billion in new funding from Congress, the IRS has launched their most aggressive hiring campaign ever to ramp up enforcement. If you're ignoring your taxes, don't delay another minute because your paycheck, your bank account, even your home or business could already be at risk. Now, here's the good news. Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax relief firm, can get to work immediately helping to protect you from the IRS. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Their tax attorneys and licensed professionals are experts at resolving tax problems. Let them help determine if you qualify for the Fresh Start Initiative or other powerful IRS tax assistance programs. Take control. Call Optima Tax Relief now for a free consultation.
Call 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077.
Optima Tax Relief. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com. KBLA Talk 1580. We got a lot to talk about.
Tired of being locked out of job opportunities and shut down by systemic racism? KBLA stands with you in fighting for the rights of black workers, and we don't black down. The Los Angeles Black Workers Center is a dynamic alliance of workers, organized labor, community-based organizations, clergy, students, and scholars, working collectively to improve the position of the black working class. The LA Black Workers Center takes a comprehensive approach to addressing the black jobs crisis. Their programs promote access to quality jobs, racial equity in hiring and retention, discrimination-free job sites, and they prepare black workers for employment in high-wage, career-track jobs. The Black Workers Center supports workers who need help protecting their rights on the job. They give workers access to quality jobs and remove systemic barriers to employment. To sign up for free career readiness training, get involved in organizing around anti-discrimination, learn about union apprenticeship programs, or sign on to a trade registry, please visit www.lablackworkerscenter.org. That's lablackworkerscenter.org. Together, we can beat the black jobs crisis. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where everybody is somebody and nobody is a stranger. You belong here.
You absolutely do, and we're talking with JoHanna J. Thompson. She's a community peace building lead with the Peace Alliance, and Jamilia Land, co-founder of ASAP. Your event today. Talk to me about how people can help, how they can be down. Jamilia, you want to start?
Yes, first and foremost, people can come out, and we would really enjoy having them out. I want to give a quick shout out to some of our partners and co-sponsors, including Californians for Safety and Justice, Moms Demand Action, Every Town for Gun Safety, Impact, Edify, Edutainment Pros, the Peace Alliance, March On, Future Coalition, Stupid Fly, and of course Families United, Recording Industry Association of America, and the California Legislative Black Caucus. I want to thank all of them for coming together and entertaining some of the little crazy ideas in order for us to be able to effectively pull this off. But, you know, we really just would like for people to come on out and enjoy one another, enjoy the conversation. And we are hopeful that everyone walks away from today's event re-inspired about having those conversations that will get us to a place where we all feel as though our voices are heard and that we feel safe in our communities. But most importantly, where we begin to humanize one another and love on one another again, because that is at the root of peace.
ASAPjustice.network, ASAPjustice.network. JoHanna, 1 minute here. Where is the event and what do we need to know?
The event is on the west steps of the California State Capitol at 11 o'clock. We are jumping it off with some young people and some hip-hop dancing. We'll be speaking to folks, and then at about 1:30 we'll go in and the honorees will be on the Senate and Assembly floors receiving their recognition, and then we'll come back out again at 3 for a press conference, and then at 4 o'clock we'll have some entertainment to end the day. So all day long from 11 to around 5, 6 o'clock, you can come out and enjoy some West Coast hip-hop with your community.
Well, Jamilia Land and JoHanna J. Thompson, it's nice meeting you. Thanks for waking up with me so early when you have such a long day ahead. Go get a nap, and thanks again for joining us.
We appreciate you.
Thank
you so much.
News, traffic, and sports, and it's time for Mindful Monday on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us. I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. The deadliest wildfire in modern U.S. history has claimed at least 96 lives. Maui Police Chief John Pelletier spoke at a press conference last